it's Donna here. I thought I'd do a podcast on my own. It's been a little while since my last podcast. It's been well, it's coming up for 3 weeks. It's been on my mind to do a podcast on my own, but with everything that's been going on recently and outside in this sort of COVID-19 experience, I've been finding it really quite tough to find the right things to say. And I'm not saying I don't know if I'm even going to do a really good job here actually, but I'm going to really try my best. I think the work I've done so far with searching for truth has really had an impact on me. I always knew that there's still what I'll call stuff there here. And when I'm sort of pointing down here, like, around in the sort of gut area, I don't know why, but this is where I sort of feel like everything is stored. More so some people might be in their mind, like they point up here, but I feel it here. And over the years, and I'm older than I look, over the years, I'm talking 20 odd years or more, I have been really working on these emotions, these negative emotions, these stresses, these pains, and I've very much kind of done it on my own, it's taken a long time, but because it's taken a long time, I'm learning so much along the way about myself. Now, my whole start of life has been from a very young age. I've been searching. I've been searching ultimately without realizing it at the time as a child, but now looking back, for a very long time, I've been searching for myself. And so for a very long time, I've been finding myself. So by putting this podcast together and going back over areas with someone else there that I know there potentially is still pain and negative emotions. Obviously I have been going there and bringing those emotions out to the surface. And I didn't even really look at this beforehand and think how it was going to work out. I just thought it was a good idea. I didn't realize how powerful it was going to be. It's really powerful from the start all the way through, because that's what we need to do. We need to get these emotions. We need to get these pains, these anger, there's any stuff from the past that never actually got dealt with properly, or maybe there was injustice there, or maybe you just moved on from it. Let's get it out and look at it, talk about it, face it, and then we can let it go. And without even realizing it, this is the process that I've was putting myself through for a good 6 weeks, and quite consistently as well. And the point that I'm kind of getting to is, I think when you do this, it just kind of widens and almost wakens up your perspective over things and life even more. And for example, I don't know if this is going to link in with what I've just said, but strange things have happened as well. Um, I've learnt a lot of stuff about current day stuff. So whilst we're talking about experiences from the past, mostly, I think all of them actually, like for myself and for my guests, we're going back. But we also end up talking a little bit about the current day, and comparisons from how the systems were then to how they are now. I guess the last few weeks, I've been really kind of in the present, and the things that I've wanted to share and talk about have been what's going on in the present. And that's why I've been getting a little bit kind of like all over the place with my message over the last few weeks whilst not having a guest, because it's the present that's bugging the hell out of me. Throughout this whole COVID-19 experience and lockdown, I'll be honest, and say that at the very beginning, I didn't really buy it. And what I mean by that, and it's not that I didn't buy the coronavirus. I knew it existed, and I knew that it could be really bad for some people, especially if they're ill and stuff like that. But I guess my gut feeling came from the media, the mainstream media. And I don't know whether this is because I've been on this kind of personal development, albeit slow, over a very long time journey, that I'm the way I am. But about 5 years ago, I stopped watching the news. In fact, over the last few years, couple of years, I've stopped watching TV altogether. And more recently, even Netflix, from what the whole cuties thing. So I'm really not watching much, just watching a lot of YouTube at the moment. But I don't know if that's made a difference. So I was already very suspicious of the mainstream media. I've got a radio show and it's called Good Vibrations, and I was able to, because of the name and the nature of my show, I was able to get out of having to play the news in between the 2-hour program. I had to play it before and after, but I couldn't, didn't tie in with my show, because my show is about positivity. And it became apparent for me a good few years ago that that is not what you were getting through the news pretty much ever. And I don't know if it was because I was more awakened to that made the difference for me and on how I felt about the lockdown and the COVID-19. The kids were going to be off school, and it was all just getting all a bit over the top for me, because I can't and never have really for a very long time been able to believe what the mainstream media are saying. My perspective has widened, and it's because I did go down a rabbit hole. And the rabbit hole that I went down was and it was no, if I was going to go down a rabbit hole, it was probably always going to be because it was to do with children. Before really heading on into this podcast work that I'm doing now, I was a full-on children's entertainer. If there was anything that was going to get me down a rabbit hole over this period, this lockdown period, it was likely to be children, and it was. And it was something that I really had not known about. I had not known about the satanic side, and maybe I had, but because it's so horrible, I just, how you blank stuff out, you a little bit like the emotions that I was talking about earlier, you bury them, you put them away. It's like, maybe I did, but it was a shock. And that was actually the Hampstead cover up. That was the 2 children, and it was the video of them speaking. And then I ended up going down and looking at that whole case, and that's what got me. And I think once you know that, and you know that you become aware of that evil that is going on, it's like, it's not a conspiracy that was happening. I never heard anything about it. I mean, it was huge. Never heard anything about it. Hardly anyone did. Why? And then you look at a little bit more at the Jimmy Savile and the BBC, and and it just, you can't help but sort of go. And I think that's why a lot of people are scared about even looking down the rabbit hole. So I get it. And once you're there and you understand that that's true, that's true, that's true, you can't help with everything that's going on and what we're hearing on the news, and still not buying into this mainstream media. Because the more that this is going on, the more it becomes obvious to me that the mainstream media is just, following a narrative. But over the last few weeks, I have been really plagued with some of the stuff that's going on now. And the family courts came up on the UK news column, which is a news that I do watch on YouTube. I really do love watching that news just recently, because it's the news. I mean, I'll give you an idea of what was on the first time I saw it. A judge in France had been suspended for selling his 12-year-old daughter online for sex with his wife, so the mother and the father, and she was also a judge. Now, he was a family court judge, and then she tried to disassociate herself from him by leaning on the fact that she'd used a maiden name, but actually she was his wife and it was their child. And they covered that on the news. But they covered the fact that the mainstream news in France don't want to go near it. So it's transparent and you're able to make your own mind up. But what I'm realizing more and more is that they don't want you to make your own mind up. They want to make your mind up for you so that they can control you. But I do think that some of this digging and awakening and opening your perspective with searching for truth, for me, going back and really looking at adoption, how I feel about my skin color, and domestic violence, sexual abuse. I mean, this is all heavy shit. it's kind of why I'm feeling even more around what's going on now, because the emotions that I'm working through and are from the past, but they're from a traumatic experience or traumatic experiences in the past. Well, that's what's happening now for a lot of people. It might be a few years, might be sooner, might be later, before we really see the impact of what we're going through now. Like when we look at children, especially, domestic abuse and suicide and the effect of that on the children. This is trauma now. So I feel really passionate. I think because I've been unearthing, like searching for truth with emotions from the past, is, well, don't leave them now, because the best thing, and I know this, I really do know this now after working with children and not really having this myself, is the best thing you can do is deal with it now. Deal with it now. Don't let that, what's going on now, pile up with all the other stuff and put it away there. Because as you get older, we get better at putting it there. I mean, again, I'm saying down here, you might be up here, just wherever you store it. We get older and older and we get better at doing it. We get more experienced at it, to the point we don't even really know that we're doing it. But we are. These emotions will store themselves and they will eat you up inside, especially if they are just there with so many more emotions. Something could happen and you won't even realize it, but subconsciously it's going to trigger an emotion. It might be anger, it might be pain, because and it could be something just like a smell takes you back to that place, and that place and that pain, if there's pain in there and you've buried it, It's there. And that's what we want to get out. So I've had a real bee in my bonnet about all of this, because there's things I want to cover now that's going on now. Another thing that was really starting to get in the way of my Searching for Truth podcast. I'm not going to mention any names here, and I'm not even too sure how soon I can come out with this, because we are fighting this further. But it's to do with the payment holidays, which thousands upon thousands of families and homes and people have gone down the road of payment holidays for their utilities, their mortgages. And in my case, I got it offered to me from my utilities, and you could not make up the disastrous events that occurred from that moment. I mean, it was unbelievable. Just want to look at the facts and what's coming out, and what's the truth. And that's, I need to speak the truth, and the truth for what I see and lots of other people see. And the crazy thing at the moment, and I think the dangerous thing at the moment, is there's so much division. So people are seeing truth, but it's a different perspective of truth, so it's like we're all trying to do the right thing, but we're actually clashing with each other. Because, come on, we're all humans at the end of the day. We're all the same. We all feel the pain, and okay, some people don't, through issues of their childhood probably, and I get that. But actually, that's why Searching for Truth's good, because we can go back there and we can sort that out. And if we do, and we were to go back to that raw, pure consciousness that we all are, and we all were when we were born, and we all still are now, then we are all the same. So I get it. I get why people would be scared. And I think because of the uncertainty and the not knowing, and a lot of people are just unsure, or that, there's so many emotions going on, which is why this Searching for Truth now is good. Because for me anyway, and hopefully, I don't know, I haven't thought much past it, but maybe we could use this platform to help people now, to undo the trauma now, so we don't bury it. And in that process, maybe we could even start, untangling and dissolving some of the emotions from the past with them as well. How wonderful would that be? I really want to do some good. I really want to take action in some way. And I think over the last few weeks, I've had so many ideas and inspirations, but I felt quite like numb. And again, I think this is associated with the energies that are going on at the moment. I read something on this for the week of October, second week of October. A lot of people are going to be feeling this. Well, I was feeling this a bit before, actually, where just sort of felt, I don't know, like just slow down. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. And be kind to yourself. And in both of those statements, I've mentioned self, yourself. You need to get in touch with yourself. And if you struggle with that, maybe it's because you need to find yourself. In order to do that, you've got to give yourself some time to yourself. And that's so difficult with all the distractions going on. in the world, on the TV, around us. There's so many distractions at the moment. You could get onto Facebook or whatever it is that you're on in social media, and you can find yourself there longer. And I'm saying that because I know, fall victim to that more and more as these 2 weeks into October we're in them. And it's just really important to be aware of where you're at, and to give yourself some time out. Find somewhere that you can go and be by yourself, where you can maybe listen to some nice music. Try not to have it on YouTube or on the TV. Sort of just this time is where you switch that off. So just have some music coming out from somewhere, but you're not even looking at it, you're just listening to it. And you could always just ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? Just sit with yourself. Find yourself, because it's more important than ever that you can find a space inside, because we're being told a lot that it's not safe outside. And sadly, I think that message is going to get amplified. So we have to amplify our safety inside even more. But before we can do that, we've got to find ourselves. I could talk for England on this. Been so much going on. Hopefully I've given you some ideas of what those things are and haven't bored you to death. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. And watch this space, because searching for truth now is I will I'll be starting that very soon. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Take care of you. Have a wonderful week. Mwah. Love you. Bye-bye. Oh, come on, Donna. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?